We are on day 4, April 9th, and we are learning about air pollution today in science. We've been learning about the atmosphere all week, and now we're going to learn about what happens when we pollute our atmosphere. So let's start with our mini lesson, and then we're going to go on and I'll do a read aloud for your reading assignment. So, we only have two vocab words today. Acid precipitation is one, and that is rain, sleet, or snow that contains a high concentration of acids. And then air pollution. Air pollution is the contamination of the atmosphere by the introduction of pollutants from human and natural sources. Okay, so we are going to be doing a read aloud, and then afterwards you're going to click your discussions and tell me what the definition of air pollution is, which I just read to you. So here we go. Let's start with what is air pollution, our first paragraph, and this is the answer to your quiz question. Your discussion question, I mean. Okay, so let's start. Air pollution is the addition of harmful substances to the atmosphere. An air pollutant is anything in the air that can damage the environment or make people or other organisms sick. Some air pollution comes from natural sources. Other forms of air pollution are caused by things that people do. There are two kinds of air pollutants: primary pollutants and secondary pollutants. Primary pollutants are pollutants that are put directly into the air. Dust, sea salt, volcanic ash, and pollen are primary pollutants that come from natural sources. So primary pollutants are those that they're put directly into the air, and they're usually from something natural. Chemicals from paint and other materials and vehicle exhaust are primary pollutants that come from human activities, okay? So there are primary pollutants that come from us humans, and that's usually if we're spraying our paint, if you're, I would say vehicle exhaust, anything. If you're revving up your engine and the vehicle exhaust is coming out, then that's also a pollutant that we are putting into the air. And that's a primary pollutant because it's going directly into the air. Then we have secondary pollutants, formed when primary pollutants react with each other or with other substances in the air. Ozone is an example of a secondary pollutant. It forms on sunny days when chemicals from burning gasoline react with each other and with the air. Ozone damages human lungs and can harm other living things. Okay, so now you have a picture below this of what smog looks like, and it says number 1, vehicles such as cars give off exhaust. So if you ever see a car cranked and then you go around to the back of it where the trunk is, and below it you'll see kind of like a pipe sticking out. That tailpipe is putting out exhaust. So when that exhaust goes up into the air, it reacts with the air and with the sun to form ozone. And then the ozone, it mixes with other pollutants in the air and it creates smog. So what is smog? On a hot, still, sunny day, yellowish brown air can cover a whole city. This is called smog. Smog forms when ozone mixes with other pollutants. During summer in cities such as Los Angeles, a layer of warm air can trap smog near the ground. In the winter, a storm can clear the air. And then it shows you a picture of what Los Angeles looks like on a clear day. And then on the right side, it shows you what it looks like, the same picture, but what it looks like when there's a lot of smog trapped on the ground. So that's a lot of air pollution. How do humans cause air pollution? So how do we do it? Many of our daily activities cause air pollution. The main source of human-caused air pollution in the United States is motor vehicles. So your cars, your motorcycles, the big trucks, buses, trains, and all the planes, they give off exhaust. The exhaust is a gas that contains pollutants that create ozone and smog. Factories and power plants that burn coal and gas and oil also give off pollutants. So our factories and then our cars. Same thing when we learned about Latin America and what causes a lot of their air pollution. It's the same thing for the United States. Businesses that use chemicals such as dry cleaners and auto body shops can also add air pollutants. So what causes air pollution indoors? sometimes the air inside a building can be more polluted than the air outside. There is no wind to blow pollutants away and no rain to wash them out of the air indoors. Therefore, they can build up inside. It's important to air out buildings by opening the windows or using fans that bring fresh air in from outside. So then you have this picture right here, and it shows you the different kinds of chemicals that you can get from indoor air pollution, which I think is really interesting because we usually think when we think air pollution that it would be something coming from outside, right? But no. It says that nitrogen oxide from unvented gas stoves, wood stoves, or kerosene heaters is also a pollutant. So your stove. And then it says fungi and bacteria from dirty heating and air conditioning ducts. So any kind of bacteria or fungus that's growing on air conditioning can also cause it. The carbon monoxide from a faulty furnace or car left running. Solvents from paint strippers and thinners. Gasoline from a car or a lawnmower. Formaldehyde from furniture, carpeting, or particle board and foam installation, and chemicals from dry cleaning, and the last one was chlorine and ammonia from household cleaners. Those all can make indoor air pollution. Now, what is acid precipitation? Acid precipitation is rain, sleet, or snow that contains acids from air pollutants. When we burn fossil fuels such as coal, pollutants such as sulfur dioxide are released into the air. These pollutants combine with water in the atmosphere to form acids. Acid precipitation can kill or damage plants, damage soil, and poison water. When acid rain flows into lakes, it can kill fish and other aquatic life. So acid precipitation and or acid rain can really be harmful to our environment. Now, what is the ozone hole? Close to the ground, ozone is a pollutant formed by human activities. However, high in the stratosphere, ozone is an important gas that forms naturally. The ozone layer absorbs harmful ultraviolet radiation from the sun. Ultraviolet radiation can harm living things. For example, it can cause skin cancer in humans. So we talked about this. If we are not able to keep our atmosphere clean, we're going to create an ozone hole, and therefore the UV radiation is going to be able to penetrate into the ground and penetrate into the lower atmospheric zones, and that is what gives people skin cancer. So in 1980, scientists noticed that the ozone layer over the poles were getting thin. This hole in the ozone layer was being caused by chemicals called CFCs, which destroy the ozone layer. CFCs were being used in air conditioning and chemical sprays. Many CFCs are now banned. However, CFCs can remain in the atmosphere for 60 to 120 years. Therefore, the ozone layer may slowly recover, but it'll take a long time. So basically, they were making these air conditionings units, and they were also making these chemical sprays, and they realized they had these harmful chemicals that were thinning out the ozone layer. And like we said, the ozone layer protects us from UV rays. So if this ozone layer is thinning and containing a hole in it, it makes it the UV rays able to go through and get to us, and that's what causes skin cancer in a lot of people. Now, how does air pollution affect human health? Air pollution can cause many health problems. Some are short-term problems. They happen quickly and go away when the air pollution clears up or the person moves to a cleaner location. Others are long-term health problems. They develop over long periods of time and are not cured easily. So let's look at the table. For the short-term effects, that means that they happen kind of quickly and they go away quickly. Headaches, nausea, vomiting. You can have eye, nose, and throat irritation, coughing, difficulty breathing, upper respiratory infection, asthma attacks, or worsening of emphysema, meaning that you can have these short-term illnesses or sicknesses that can bother you if you live in a place where there's a lot of heavy air pollution. Now, the long term effects, meaning that not easy to cure, would be emphysema, which is a lung disease, lung cancer, asthma, permanent lung damage, heart disease, and skin cancer. So, what can we do about all this air pollution? Air pollution in the United States is not as bad now as it was 30 years ago. People today are much more aware of how they can cause or reduce air pollution. Air pollution can be reduced by new laws, by technology, and by people changing their lifestyles. The United States government and the governments of other countries have passed laws to control air pollution. These laws limit the amount of pollution that sources such as cars and factories are allowed to release. For example, factories and power plants now have scrubbers on smokestacks. A scrubber is a tool that helps remove pollutants from smoke before it leaves the smokestack. So it sort of filters out all those bad chemicals. Many cars are more efficient now than they used to be, so they produce less pollution. Individuals can do a lot on their own to reduce pollution as well. For example, we can walk or bike instead of driving. So they're basically saying what we can do as people, we can do it on a large scale. Therefore, putting in new laws like stopping the use of harmful chemicals in our vehicles and our trucks, possibly putting laws on what factories can emit, and then what we can do as just individuals on a smaller scale is carpool. Try to ride a bike more often, try to walk more places if it's accessible and safe, to reduce our air pollution footprint. So that's it for today. Click discussions or click activities, then click discussions, and tell me what the definition of air pollution is.